good morning, everybody. Are we here? Yes. Are we on? Yes. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the morning show here on Stock Market TV. Spencer Israel, JC Parets, Steve Strazza with you on this fine, dare I say, like borderline spring morning. That's what it feels like. It's getting warm out there for some of us. For others, it's been warm because we live in warm climates, but can't all live in Key West. What can I say? All right, on today's show, actually, I want to say quick thought about yesterday's show. That may have been that was my favorite show we've had in a while. Yesterday's show was awesome. Everybody was on their game, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun yesterday. So if you missed it, it was great. Yesterday we had a good time. We had some good charts, good conversation. Yesterday was great. We'll try to do better today because we're always trying to do better. Every day is a new day, a learning experience. All right, today's guest, Tommy Lackey, will be on the show. He does some great stuff with relative strength. It'll be at 9. We'll have Sean back in the saddle, back from Jamaica, and we'll have Kenny stop by as well. So that is the plan. Do me a favor. First, wake your neighbors, then wake your parents or your kids. Tell them we're live. Hit the like button. Good? You did that? Excellent. Here we go.
All right, we are back in the saddle. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you, Mr. Spencer Israel?
Wait, Steve. There you go. Okay.
There he is.
Hello.
How's it going, Mr. Strazza?
Good morning, boys.
Oh, we missed you last night, Steve. You know,
How was the game?
hanging out with the fellas. Dude, hockey is awesome. Like,
Did they win?
seriously, like Cubans don't know anything about hockey, and it really is a shame. Because if
Great.
Cubans understood hockey a little bit more, like, Cubans would be cooler. Hockey is freaking awesome. I really do love it. I love it.
One of my favorite sports to watch live, for sure.
We got to see Ovechkin. That's cool. He's about to break Gretzky's record.
Oh, wait, he scored
that's
last
neat.
night, right?
He scored last night. Yep. There are a few fights.
Wow.
You know, few
Did
things
they
going
win?
on.
Did the Rangers win or lose?
The Rangers lost in overtime, actually.
Ooh, overtime.
You know, it was a bummer. Like it was a shot on goal in overtime. They missed it. There was a fast break the other way. I don't know if that's what they call it in hockey, but essentially what would be the equivalent to a fast break. And they scored, and that was it. So it was a bummer because I wanted, like, Pat had never been to a Rangers game, and like Rick is like new to New York, so like I wanted the arena to explode, right? So like it would have been cool if the Rangers won in overtime because that place would have been bananas, and instead it was like a library on the way out.
Well, at least you saw a good game. And how did the talk go?
Yes, tell us about the talk.
Well, you know, first of all, throw up the so I was at Fordham University last night. Throw up that slide 3 so you can see like their trading room classroom. It is sick, dude.
I've heard of this.
It's really nice. So this is like the Gabelli trading classroom or something like that. Like this is pretty badass. So that was cool. And you know, I was really impressed. I was actually really impressed with the students. Obviously, their professors, Jay Woods. So I started out the presentation just being like, I hope you guys understand like just how lucky you are to have Jay Woods to be your freaking college professor. Like that, you know, like that's a joke. It's like a joke that you guys get Jay Woods to like teach you technical analysis. Like what a joke. So like I wanted to make it very clear, like you guys are like so fortunate, you know?
Well, you don't get that at 95% of business schools.
Dude,
technical analysis class.
Dude, is any other school in the world going to get the floor governor of the New York Stock Exchange to teach you the way stocks trade? Like, it's like a joke, dude.
Incredible experience that they're getting.
It's unbelievable. I was impressed with like the interest that these students had.
In
the
charts
questions that I was getting, like thoughtful questions. Like, you know, granted, they've already been through, you know, I guess like a few months of the curriculum so far, so they're not like totally fresh, but they love the rabbit math.
What do they think about charts, though?
Like,
I'm sure they're interested in markets, but technical analysis, at least when I was in college, it was, I don't know.
They just had their midterms. I couldn't stop giggling like for the first like 10 minutes of class because Jay was doing like teacher stuff and I was just giggling. They're like, how do you get the Buttonwood Agreement wrong? Like Jay's like yelling at this kid and I'm just like giggling like a little school.
Yeah.
It was just like funny. Like it was just funny to me.
That's awesome.
You know, they were like, oh, Head and Shoulders tops and da 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 da. And then like Jay was trying to use like Home Depot as an example of a Head and Shoulders top, but like we're buying it. So like Jay's like, no, JC, don't show them that.
Is he actually teaching them like chart patterns and pattern?
Well, they talk about current markets like in the class.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. And then he wanted me to do the Fibonacci thing. So I did the whole rabbit mating situation. And the kids were like, their minds were just exploding.
Do they believe in Fibonacci now or no?
Well, I mean, it's not so much believe it, and it's just a math equation, right? So it's just what it is. It's the interpretation of it and what you do with it. It's that that's the more the mystifying. But yeah, it was pretty unbelievable.
Speaking of Fibonacci, JC, you probably didn't see Jeopardy last night, right? You were out and about. But
I did not watch Jeopardy last night or any time in the last 2 decades, probably.
Well, that's a bummer for you. I'll tell you that. Fibonacci was on Final Jeopardy.
Stop. Are you serious?
I am not lying.
Category?
No, Fibonacci was the answer.
Wow. What was the question?
No, first the category was medieval Europeans.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Question: this mathematician of Pisa studied in Algeria and later wrote a book introducing Arabic numerals to a larger audience.
Wow. Shout out Big L. The original Big L, Leonardo Fibonacci de Pisa. Shout out Big L. We got a lot to talk about. China ripping again. New. What else is new?
Yeah, China. I mean, there's China and there's everything else right now. Is that fair at this point?
1.7%. Spencer, can we hit it? Let's do it. Let's
look at the reactions to. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Whatever.
Let's go. I'm starting to do that thing where now I call it my Ripple. You know how like I always make fun of people for saying that?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, how's my Ripple doing this morning?
No,
4.5% in case anybody's wondering, but I caught myself.
The
Ripple.
The Ripple.
The Ripple, not my Ripple.
Don't.
Fair. Deal.
Okay,
so let's go through.
Wait.
Let's go through what?
God. Can I even speak? The way that the stocks in the market are reacting to earnings is very different right now. Look at CrowdStrike, I guess, was a good one from just this week. Salesforce from last week. All of the Magnificent Sevens. They come out, they beat earnings, but the stocks are not up. Look at NVIDIA, right? We've seen it over and over and over again this quarter. Look at the Chinese tech stocks and what happens after they report earnings. Look at JD today. It's just the latest example. So big difference in the way that they're rewarding or, in the case of the U.S., punishing these stocks.
Larry Thompson in the chat saying how much he hates his communist portfolio. I've been pounding the table. Long communism, short capitalism. We've been talking about it right here. Shout out Larry Thompson. Someone's paying attention. All right, Dow futures this morning down 375 points. That's about a little bit under 1% to the downside. That's 42,700 on the Dow. S&P futures down 1%, just under 5,800. NASDAQ 100 futures down almost 1.5%. 300 points to the downside for the NASDAQ. 20,365. 30-year bond futures down 40 bips, down to 117. Crude oil up 0.5%. That's been the big loser as of late, just under 67. You got copper flat this morning, just under 480. That's been the big winner. Gold down 0.5%, just over 2,900. Silver also down 0.5%, right at 33, with the VIX at 23.5. That elevated VIX remains in place. In funny money land, Bitcoin flat this morning above 90,000 after the big ripper yesterday. Ethereum 2260 up almost a full percent. And then we're gonna go to Solana. Solana is up 1.5%, just under 150. And total crypto market cap, Mr. Spencer Israel, $2.92 trillion, with the dollar getting absolutely destroyed. Dollar rushed. I got some thoughts on that, but go ahead, Mr. Strazza. Where's your head at this morning?
No, nothing. I was going to go to the dollar. What are your thoughts? Because
Wow,
we've
Strazza
now
going straight for the dollar. Okay, this is my theory, and let me know if you guys think I'm crazy. And guys in the chat, if you guys want to weigh in, want to hear your thoughts. All right, dollar gets absolutely destroyed, like the shit kicked out of it. Like there's nothing you could say. These emerging market currencies ripping, euro ripping again this morning. I mean, just complete dollar destruction. Look at Swissy, up another 50 basis points today. Dollar getting smoked. As the dollar's getting smoked, it is creating a faster unwind in these international stocks, particularly in Asia, but also in Europe and elsewhere around the world, obviously. And because this move into international has been so violent, market participants are using some US stocks as a source of funds in order to pay for those new trades. In some cases, willingly, but I'd be willing to bet that in a lot of these cases, unwillingly, getting out of US stocks as a source of funds for some of that other stuff. And the dollar getting literally destroyed. It's not like a slow trickle down, it's getting crushed. Just speeds up that situation, causing a little bit of pressure in the United States. How do you feel about that theory?
I think the market could be rolling over right now, hard.
You're not answering my question. Do you think my theory? Do you think there's some validity to what my theory is to just the severe underperformance from the United States is partly because of that dramatic appreciation elsewhere around the world?
U.S. stocks shouldn't do poorly with a weak dollar. Like they could, right? But I wouldn't expect that to be the case. I would
Agreed.
expect all stocks, all risk assets to perform well with a weak dollar. So I think it's
Agreed, but you're not listening to what I'm saying.
yeah.
A weaker dollar, it's not just a weaker dollar. It's the dollar's getting the shit kicked out of it. So because of that, the rate of acceleration into international equities is causing some of that selling in the United States and some of that volatility in the United States. That's all I'm saying. I'm not.
Yeah. There's something there. I think a lot of the best stocks have been clearly used as ATMs recently, as money has flowed into Europe and Asia, for sure. But I don't know if that makes it okay, right? If that dynamic's true, it's still not a good thing if you're sitting here holding U.S. stocks. It could continue.
Oh no question. But you do think that there's something there in terms of the dollar unwind has caused that sort of situation?
It was like, I think it was not just rotation that we were seeing over the course of the past few months, but it was profit taking here, rotation internationally. Yeah.
And then the dollar's just sped that up.
I guess. I don't like the fact that the dollar falls off a cliff like this and Bitcoin and tech stocks look like absolute garbage. I just that rubs me the wrong way.
You don't trust this Bitcoin rally attempt back above 90? You don't trust it?
If you told me the dollar's falling back into the box, is getting slammed, it's already retraced 62% of advance from last fall, right? So
hold on. So the dollar has retraced
62%. You're right there.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Look at that.
Logical level for it to maybe chill.
Yeah, good call.
I think it's going back to the
penny. To the penny.
Yeah, and the top happened at the 38. You like that?
And you got that. And on the dollar index futures, you got that gap fill from the election. That's the election gap fill this morning.
So listen, if you said to me 2 weeks ago, this is what's going to happen to the dollar, what are speculative growth stocks doing? Not undoing a multi-year massive textbook reversal pattern. It's no good. And then today, yesterday I wrote a post, JC, and we talked about these three major levels in the U.S. averages, the VWAPs from the August 5th lows, and how they've been tested time and time again. But you need to see like a follow-through day. They dug in yesterday. That was a big bullish development. I thought yesterday's price action, but today, ugly action here this morning again.
Can we
no confirmation?
Let's look at the dollar. Let's look at that slide 3 so you can see exactly what Strazza is talking about here. So this is a great chart. There's a lot going on here, so I think we should
Who's buying Bitcoin today?
Throw up the dollar. That's Medtronic. That's not the dollar. Can you throw up the dollar, please? What is the problem with you guys back there?
Right, that was my fault. My fault.
No crypto talk. No Bitcoin talk. in the chat today?
Can you just concentrate on one thing at a time for 1 second, please?
What?
Like, just because Spencer keeps screwing up the charts doesn't mean you need to change the subject.
We could go anywhere. I'll go anywhere. We could talk about whatever you want.
Oh, hold on, but you made a good point. You made a really, really good point. So, and that rarely happens around here. Strazza making such a good point. So I want to make sure that you're getting your time here. So there's that rally from the fall in the dollar, like you said.
Yeah.
Right. That big failed breakout that we saw in January, and then the collapse.
Yeah.
So that yellow line right there, if you could see, that is the gap fill from the election, post-election, right? And then there's that 61.8% retracement of that entire move, and here we are now.
Can I be honest, JC, about the fibs? Because you were talking about rabbit math, and there's no one in this world who can talk about and explain Fibonacci, the golden ratio, and all these jazzy math and numbers that we're looking at on our charts better than you, sir. So great job at that. Wish I was at the talk last night. I have found, though, over the years, you might find this interesting.
I didn't tell Pat to come because I didn't think it was necessary. Like, I was going to bring Rick with me.
I thought that was rude of you.
I want to go. I want to go.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, come. I mean, I don't care.
Of course he would have wanted to go. I think that's cool.
I know, but he's been around forever. I figured, like, he had other things to do, and like, I'll bring Rick. But Pat was like all fired up. He wanted to come. So I was like, all right.
Give Pat a chance to hang out on a college campus?
Yeah.
Shit. I have found over the years, I'm not using Fibonacci as much for price targets because it's hard. I don't want to sell, but when you're looking at price targets on the Fibonacci, you usually got some sick momentum in a chart, right? And I never want to sell into it. So sometimes on the way back down, I'll use them. But this is how I'm usually using it. When there's a nice advance, right? And then there's a corrective wave off of that advance. I want to measure it out, right? And then I use the Fibonacci retracements basically as a gauge of how resilient the price action is coming off of the rally phase, right? So in this case, say the dollar pulled back to the 106 level. I would have said, okay, 38%. JC, what's that? Garden variety, right? Digs in there, bounces.
Oh,
okay, good. That's a strong correct. So anything over 38% in my book is a pretty strong corrective wave, right? Dig in there, then you drop a VWAP from the pivot highs, boom, that's your entry. 62% is getting a little sketchy, right? Once you break 38, you tend to go to 62, and once you break 62, you tend to go all the way.
What about the extensions?
To the downside?
No, the extensions to the upside. What do you mean?
This is what I'm saying. I tend to use the retracements a lot more, like in this case with the dollar.
Okay, right, but in the Bitcoin, there's no retracement. It's an extension, and look where it stopped going up, right at that extension.
No, what are you talking about? So the way I would do Bitcoin right now is I would fib it out from the August low.
From last summer lows.
Yeah, to the high just recently here. And you would see the top occur at the 38%, right? And we haven't quite got down to the 62%. We're right there. We're at 38 right now.
We're at the 38.2% retracement from the August lows in Bitcoin up to the highs recently. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
So we can have a 61.8% retracement that takes us to 72. And that would not be out of the question at all. We're buyers there?
No. I'm seeing like 75, but I'm using closing prices. So it's a range. Yeah. Sure. 72, 75.
Ben Silver says, someone tell Strazza that it's the VWAP, not the VWAP.
No, it's WAP. Sorry.
It is WAP.
I didn't learn it. I was using VWAP before I met Brian Shannon, actually. Otherwise, I would have said it like him. But the people who taught it to me back in the day were WAP
The reason
people.
Brian Shannon talks that way is because he's from Massachusetts. So
yeah, nobody's like,
the car, I parked the car, Boston Garden. Like, so he's like VWAP,
Listen, I love Brian Shannon.
Yeah.
He's the king of the VWAP, okay? The AVWAP is the best tool in the world. And I'll tell him this. He knows I feel this way. I have never heard anybody say it the way Brian does, and I've heard a lot of people say it at the different places that I've worked over the years.
No, it's because he's from Massachusetts, so that's just the way he talks. It's kind of like that king back in the day in Spain had a lisp, so now everybody thought that that's how you needed to talk, so that's why people in Spain speak with a lisp. But that's not how you talk, right? You know what I mean? Like, just because Brian Shannon is from Massachusetts doesn't mean we all have to talk like massholes. Like,
it's WAP. Yeah. If you know, you know.
Yeah. Shout out Massachusetts, by the way. Berkshire's lovely.
Great place. Great state.
Morgan and I spent our first New Year's in the Berkshires.
Oh, how lovely. It was
lovely. It was
a nice little area.
It's a couple of young kids falling in love, no big deal.
It's beautiful in the wintertime.
It is. It's cold. It's cold in the winter. The fall. The fall's where you want to go. Fall's where you want to go. I know we got Kenny, and I know we got Lackey coming. I did want to show you. Throw up slide 8 there quickly. Let's just make Strazza a little bit jealous there. See what's going on there. Slide 8.
Yeah, this pic. Yeah, these pictures.
There it is. There it is. We got the uni little side by side. Like Patrick was like, JC, but why did we get one with a quail egg, one without? And I was like, oh, you'll see, my friend. You will see.
What did he like more?
He liked the quail egg. He's like you.
How was the tuna with the uni and the calf?
You know, I got to tell you. You know how we always complain, you and I, not complain, but like you and I always reiterate that the Wagyu with the uni is too much. Yeah,
too much.
The Toro with the uni is just right.
But there's caviar on top, or what?
Yeah, but caviar is mostly just there for decoration. Like it's not going to make a big impact on the flavor profiles. Like the uni with the Toro is, woo.
It looked low grade anyway.
I don't see enough cream cheese, avocado, and crunch on this plate.
What is this, amateur hour? I don't go to sushi restaurants and have that on the menu, that kind of stuff. If I see that on the menu, I'm walking right out.
In all seriousness, the egg is just too much for me, but the rest of it looks good.
Look at Pat's face there, slide 9. Look at Pat's face. Come on.
I hate this picture.
If that doesn't say it all, come on. Look at that.
You guys were talking about me. You guys were talking about me in this very moment. You were laughing. You're like, I'm gonna send this to Steve.
Talking about you. It was more like, ooh, let's send this to Strazza to fuck with him. You know, it's kind of more like that than it was talking about you. Like, you're not that interesting for us to spend that much time.
You went to Blue Ribbon?
No. We went to a new spot. It's called Sushi. Really? What was it called? It was like a stupid name. I'll get you the. It was called.
Okay, whatever. While you think of that, can I bring Kenny on?
Please.
All right.
Please.
It's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my clock, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Hola. Yeah.
Other people are paying attention.
Oh, Kenny. Are you wearing your purple and orange for Mardi Gras?
Oh no, the Mardi Gras hat's in the other room. No, I went dumpster diving in my basement because we're cleaning it up for my son.
Can you just flip your camera around in here? Yeah.
Where is it?
Go to the settings thing.
Let it says flip the camera
on video and.
Okay, video. Yeah.
There we go. Mirror. Yay. Okay.
That better?
That is better.
Well, now we could read it.
This hat apparently on eBay. This hat's going for like $250 now. Right out of 1986.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I might sell it. I do love this hat. I was always a big, huge Lakers fan because I love Magic Johnson.
Mr. Kenny Glick, you had some action yesterday. You got some selling this morning. Are we going with the trend to the downside today, or are we buying this dip for the mean reversion?
I think we're going to do a combination of both. I'm still thinking Qs are going to 475 before all said and done. But yesterday we put on a clinic just sitting there trading the credo back and forth, trading the crowd back and forth. So I sent you a couple of charts. I know you went out there talking about some faux show bros.
I didn't get to it.
Oh no! Oh, let me show it to you.
Talking about like human behavior and kicking people when they're down and all sorts of stuff. I just didn't have time for the faux show bro.
I got you. Well, let me show you the faux show bro on crowd.
I went out of my way, reached out to you during the day, looking for material to bring to the class, and I just didn't get to it. So that's on me.
I appreciate that too. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, listen, that was again bear market trading. I love it. Bear market trading. Wipe them out at the beginning of the day. Get that capitulation. Again, just like we've been talking about for weeks now. Short-term trading is the same as long-term trading. I'm just doing it on a short-term scale. The charts are basically the same. So, I mean, imagine this being a 3-year chart and it's just breaking out. So, yesterday, the one thing that we have been doing differently is that, like, for instance, MDB today, right? Normally I come in, I'm like, all right, cool. Something's down 20%. We're buying it. There's no question. Now we have to let the capitulation happen. Let the bleeding happen. And then we just sit there waiting, like twisting our mustaches. And again, as a bear, I'm sitting here stalking for a bull move. But that's trading right now. I'm not gonna want to short stocks that are already getting smoked. So I wait for that little faux show bro action. And look how beautiful this was. You got whole numbers. That's what was nice.
And this is CrowdStrike, just to be clear, right?
Yeah, this was crowd yesterday. Up here is your 1 minute. Let me just show it on a 2-day chart so you can really appreciate the prior day VWAP move also. So there it is. So let me zoom in. Boop. So again, this is why this trade is so special. You have why you're buying it and where it probably goes. The orange line is prior day VWAP. And once the stock that reports earnings gets over the today's VWAP, which is the blue line, more often than not, it reverts then to the prior day VWAP. Look at that beautiful trade. So here you're down 345 was the double bottom. You broke the 345, you went to a 343. Big fat hole numbers, algorithmic trading at its best. 45 breaks, 43 gets held. You're buying it at 45 with the 43 as your out. And if you're trading a $300 stock with a 2-point risk, that's basically standard. And then by the time it gets to the VWAP, you're already having a nice trade. And that was just where it got, that's where the party got started. So bang, through the VWAP, we're selling in this consolidation, but we didn't sell all of it because it never violated the VWAP again. So even though the stock was down still most of the day, above the VWAP, you have to say, all right, the buyers are still here. Let's see if this thing could break out. And we got the extra 5 points. So that was the 360. 360 got us 365. And boom, boom, we're out. So I'm going to look for the same kind of action on MDB. I have no idea what this stock is. The name of the company makes me laugh because it's Mongoloid or something. No idea.
MongoDB.
Yeah, no idea what this company is. But
it's like a software stock.
Okay, so you say. Nice. I look at this chart. Here's a 3-year chart. This stock is just absolutely insane. 135 to 400 to 500, back to 400, back to 300. So now we're at levels we haven't seen in quite some time, and it is a very specific level. Take a look at this. So the last time it was down here, I think it was 2 years ago. You're basically at the same price, that 212.50. So 212.50 just gave way. This stock hasn't seen levels like this in 2 years.
So it's down 20. Just to be clear, it's down 20% this morning.
Right. So I'm looking for a washout, maybe even get it under 200. It was as low as 189. I don't think we're going to go that low, but I think we could flirt with this, these levels right here, which is around 208. But if that gives way, look for 207.50, just like the crowd and the credo, let it bleed. And then we come in and then we'll step in. And because today's Thursday, I start looking at some options. And again, I haven't got to the point where I'm looking at options yet because I just got the power back in my house. We were out all night. I had to go pick up my daughter at 1 o'clock in the morning because the flight was delayed. So I'm kind of a little frazzled right now. But we got our stock that we're going to focus on, and of course the Qs. I mean, we're
hold on. Stick with this one real quick. Can you throw up slide 2, please, on the MongoDB? Because you're right now, this stock is a software stock. It's down to just under 212. And I know you laid out some levels. Throw out my chart there, please, Spencer. Slide 2. There it is. So that arrow, that gray line, is exactly where it is in the pre-market, which is those lows from August of last summer.
Yeah.
So I know, the way Kenny likes to do things is essentially buying them on the way back up versus just arbitrarily trying to pick a bottom, even though I wouldn't call this an arbitrary bottom because that 212 does have market memory, right? But, you're talking about getting it under 200. The market could do anything. But this 212 level there, Kenny, a lot of market memory there.
Yeah, but I mean, it just gave way. So you got almost like a triple bottom there. Because if you go back, like I said, 2 years, 212 came into play 2 years ago. So now, if you were to break that chart out and go back and look at 2023. So now that we're breaking there, 212 gets you 210, and if 210 doesn't hold, you're generally going to get 207.50. And again, that's where you look to buy that faux show, bro. So 210, 207.50, 205. And then I go look at options because today's Thursday. And again, if you're not comfortable trading $200 stock, this is where I go. Thursdays and Fridays, I look to trade options because, they're cheap. Obviously these things are going to be trading pennies on the dollar from where they were yesterday. Volatility is completely out. The stock's smashed. They have 207s and 210s. That's what I'm going to be looking at today for a little bounce on the weeklies. I only trade as close to the money, as close to expiration as possible. And if you're asking why, I just trade options in lieu of stock. That's it. It's not like I'm going to be putting in a position. I'm not doing an iron condor or straddle or strangle here. I just want to be involved with some low-priced options. And if this thing turns, you're going to get a 2-point move, 3-point move, and you got an option at $1 and it goes to 4, you got a 300% gain.
And one more thing, Kenny.
Yeah.
When you talk about how today's Thursday, you keep reiterating today's Thursday. So by my math, that would make tomorrow Friday.
It's
have
true.
that right? Is that right? Is that accurate?
That's true. Yeah, that's right here.
So because we know that historically Friday comes after Thursday, you're so interested in these Thursday activity because they expire tomorrow. Do I have that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
See what I did? You see what I did there?
You are. It's amazing to watch you work.
I mean, it's just like I can't even help myself. It's just comes to me like that, you know.
Billy Cunningham, you just nailed the other trade we're watching. Yes, obviously, baby. Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Talk to me about the Marvell.
Yes, Marvell. And again, I like I said, I haven't got a chance to look, and boom, I'm already interested. Look at this. See that red line? Now, this is where I love what I'm just about to show you. These red lines were from the last time I traded this stock. I don't even remember when this was, but look how the red line has matched to a peak and is today's VWAP. That's frightening, but also amazing. So now you got the stock that's getting hammered. Big fan of this stock. I love the chip stocks. I love the chip industry. And look, the top of that peak is the VWAP now. So let them wash it out. That's probably where you're looking to buy it. If not, before the open, because if it turns right here, I'm getting involved. Thank you for giving me the heads up on this one. And the lows of the pre-market, that's your out. Normally, I'm not coming in yet. I want to see it bleed, like I said, but this one already looks pretty good. So Marvell, MDB, QQQ, UVXY, and that's where I'm going to be focused again. 2 earnings, the Qs, the UVXY, and we'll be ready to rock.
Give me the level on Marvell.
Right there, that 74.50 looks real interesting. And again, the pre-market lows is the only danger zone. Again, $74 stock, risking about $1.50. That's standard practice. And again, this one I'm sure has $75 calls. That's what I'll be looking at. And let's take a quick look. And by the way, if you don't know this nice little trick on Thinkorswim, take a look at this. This is why I like trading in the money options. So if I'm trading Marvell, I don't even have to look at the stock. A lot of people say, do you watch the stock and then trade the option? I just watch the option contract itself on the chart. So I could put the 74 or the $75 call. So if you go to this drop-down menu on Thinkorswim and bring it in here, you could chart. You don't see any live data yet because we're not open, but you could chart the stock option as if it's the stock. So when you're trading a $74 call, it's going to basically look lockstep with the stock. And that's why I go 74 to 75s.
Oh, doing something new today.
Every day, baby. Every day around here. Just bring it into alpha.
Right on. And again, with the Qs, you got the bottom has been tested. You got your little Kardashian bottom. And as always, as the bear here, I'm still stalking for the bulls. So
the kids loved when I brought up the Kardashian bottom at the class yesterday. They thought that was hilarious.
Nice.
I didn't even do it on purpose. I swear. I was like, "Oh, this, we call this a card." I didn't even think about it. I was just kind of like talking, and they were like, "Whoa, wait, what?" They loved it. They loved it.
Yeah, Andy Dufresne.
I didn't get to Andy Dufresne. They might be a little too young to know that movie, unfortunately. We're getting old, Kenny.
Oh,
I know you and I, we look good, but we're getting up there.
The movie's 30 years old, believe it or not.
I know,
anyway.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. By the way, it's 50 years old? Jaws. And I might be going to Martha's Vineyard. It's supposedly having some sort of festival. I might have to go there.
All right.
Big fan of Jaws, if you didn't know.
Speaking of Massachusetts, it's 2 shout-outs to Massachusetts today. Shout out, Mass.
Rock and roll.
All right.
All right, I'm out of here.
KennyBlake.com, guys.
Good luck.
Kenny's room is live. It's open. He's there. He's trading. You get 10 minutes with him this morning on our show, but like 5 hours or more with him in his room. So I do recommend it. Check it out.
Do we have earnings?
We have earnings. Earnings season is like a constant in our life, right? The earnings flow never stops. We did have. I saw what I see. JD, right? This morning we had Marvell last night. That was the big one. We talked about that for a second.
How about Marvell got hit. Marvell is a part of that theme, by the way.
Well, that's
right?
what I was literally took the words right out of my mouth. So the
Right?
JD Strazza nailed. China keeps working. What else is new?
Well, shout out Asian online retail, even more
Shout out
broadly, right?
Asian online retail. Shout
How about
out.
the post earnings pop in C Limited? That's called the beach ball effect, right? Don't let a broad market sell off fool you. They just had their earnings reaction a day late. Anyway, you were saying.
Shout out to Asian internet stocks. Strazza, this Marvell, when you talk about that theme that you were mentioning before about the Magnificent Seven, quote unquote, coming in with killer earnings and then selling off one by one, all of them. And you think about semiconductors in general. Does this Marvell fit into that category, or is it just too small and irrelevant?
Look at it. I think it would be on the fringe, and it's entering that category slowly, right? So pull up a chart of Marvell if you're following along at home. Take a look at it. Wait for 9:30 because you need to see today's candle. This is what the best, most exciting, biggest growth stories in AI look like today. These are the best ones. I mean, the growth story for Marvell, this is like one of the super sexy semiconductor stories out there right now.
It is so sexy that it is so important and sexy that it doesn't even make the top 10 of the semiconductors index.
Oh, it's very small. It's very small.
That's how sexy and important it is.
Well, no, this is Marvell. This year's was super micro earlier in the cycle. This is like the new super micro. It is.
Dude, this thing is a mess, is what it is.
Speaking of messes, do you guys want to know? Do you want to know the top 3 stocks at the top of my up scanner this morning? My top gainers of the pre-market session. You're gonna love all of these stocks.
They're all Chinese.
No, they're not. None of them are. I have some filters on, right? So Lending Tree, Arlington. Oh wait, yeah, and then Cracker Barrel. Those are the top 3 on my list. Lending Tree, Arlington, Cracker Barrel.
And those are the top 3 of what?
Pre-market gainers this morning on my pre-market.
When was the last time one of you guys went to a Cracker Barrel?
I've been once or twice in my life, so many years ago.
It's been decades for me. I have one like 25 minutes from here, and my wife thinks I'm crazy that I want to go to the Cracker Barrel.
Oh, that's.
I heard it's not that good. Is it not?
What's wrong with you?
It's not good.
Why would you go there? No, don't go there.
I used to like it when I was like 12. Is that?
It's a highway diner. Don't go there.
Yeah. Don't go there, really.
Wait, all right, sorry. We have Tommy Lackey here. He's been waiting. Bring him out. All right.
Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Hey, Tommy, what's up?
Wait, can't hear you, Tommy.
Let's try that again.
There we go.
There we are. How are you?
I never know which one's on and off on this thing. I don't use it.
You're telling me, brother. You're telling me, man. It's just a constant. Us guys, we're just trying to just have a nice conversation. These goddamn microphones never working.
I get it. Technology for old people.
Dude.
You know what I'm saying?
You're like such a dummy sometimes, right?
Well, or maybe I guess it's just because I'm from Georgia. I heard
Tommy
that.
didn't like that. Tommy didn't like that I said that anything north of Fort Lauderdale might as well be Georgia.
Well, we like it here. We don't get the hurricanes y'all get, so I'll keep it. I'll keep the lake.
No doubt. We just growing up in Miami, we didn't go north of Fort Lauderdale unless we were going to Disney World. We would go south to the Keys, right?
I get it. We wouldn't go down to Fort Lauderdale.
There you go. There you go.
We just go up at the Gulf and we're done.
That's it. The Gulf is the Gulf of America now, as they call it.
Yes, yes, it is.
See a nice little sunset. It's kind of like New Yorkers. Like anything north of 125th Street is like upstate New York.
Everybody has their set of train tracks. I get it.
That's it. Hey, it's just humans.
Yep, but you guys are doing good. How are things going over there?
No complaints, my man. I mean, we've just been irresponsibly long Chinese equities, and that seems to be working out pretty good. So, we're doing all right.
Well, I think it's interesting, and I think one of the things y'all are talking about is great, where Steve talks about the idea of he really thinks the market are falling apart. I love to hear that. Because honestly, while that could be, we've broken some lines, we've done some different things like that, but from a technical standpoint, we're still in a major uptrend. We've come off now for, depending on how you look at the SPY, SPY's pretty much been coming off since late November, early December, sideways to down in more of a box. And again, with most bigger bigger correction type things, they tend to alternate. One will be very violent and straight down, and the next one will be more sideways and kind of work things out. And right now, when you stay in the major indexes on the large side, and we definitely have to differentiate between large and small right now, I think you're in a situation to where I agree we're at a crossroads. I also agree that sentiment has gotten really, really bearish really quick. And that hasn't
and
all
you know,
worked
but
out.
the sentiment, you know, granted, yes, it kind of accelerated recently, but the sentiment's been getting bearish all year, right?
Well, that's what I mean, is it's been through the whole thing. But see, that your point's exactly what I'm trying to say, JC, is that the sentiment has accelerated recently. When do we usually bottom?
When sentiment accelerates, right?
I mean,
But
you're at a
usually,
point where
yeah, but usually
everybody
the
now
S&P is off 30% by then.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is I'm not saying that we won't go further. And I think there are some technical levels that are a little lower that could still keep us in a major uptrend, still be fine. I mean, that 550, 560 level on the SPY, somewhere in the zone. I'm not pinpointing exact. Those kind of things are still possible, but they don't have to happen either. And sentiment, I think, will play a role in that, because eventually money who's watching these things and saying, okay, wait a minute, these software companies have just been getting crushed, but those weren't bad earnings. There's still something behind these companies. And again, the tariff argument, I think, and the fear of change is really what we're still playing with right now. But on the other end of it, you know, I'm a real old school guy that says that if we actually did get some level of efficiency in the government, that's where all inflation's created. And that would help every business out there. And our economy really is top in the world when we're running, you know, when we're working it. And so I think there's definitely a lot of potential that's still there. But I think you're at a crossroads right now to where this could roll over easily. But even without being considered rolled over, we got another 20 points on the S&P that we just have to basically fumble through if they want it. But you got nice patterns now that could definitely bottom, and things are getting a bit stretched when it comes to RSI and some of the lower levels, to where I think it's a matter of just what happens here in the headlines and where does it push. But I think even if we do hit those lower levels, unless there's really something worse than I'm seeing, I think it's going to be a reflexive move. I mean, I don't think we can give up on the bullish trend on a longer or major standpoint at this point.
You know, Tommy, you know, I wonder myself, like, what are people so scared about? Like, we're seeing like historic pessimism when the S&P is a few percentage points away from an all-time high. Hong Kong's making new multi-year highs. You know, Europe's making all-time highs. Like, what are people so scared about? You know, to me, I come back to, first of all, these are scared Americans, scared American individuals. What do scared American individuals own? They own a lot of these big tech companies, a lot of these big growth, high beta stocks. They don't own German industrials. They don't own Chinese internet. They're not in all that stuff that's killing it. They're in some of the only stuff that's not working, actually. And I think that has helped take sentiment to levels where people like you and me that have studied this for decades are like, wait, what? Right? Is there something to that it's the types of stocks that are not working that's accelerating that pessimism?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's everything about what's focused on and what's not focused on and all that. And I think, though, the thing we need to realize is that most individuals, even to the advisor level on a lot of levels, are not going to even be moving typically fast enough to catch most of these trends, like the China trend right now. They're looking at that major trend or making major adjustments in and out of the United States. I'll tell you, I have not spent a whole lot of time investing out of the United States over the last decade. I do some, and I definitely have pieces in mind to where we have foreign parts of the portfolio, but it's never been at the suggested amount for a long time, just because there's been no good business stance behind that. I'm not a fundamental guy, but you need to make sure the economic side of it's actually there. And Europe really just hadn't provided much of anything for a long time. Asia definitely has some opportunities here. And I think that's where things like China and areas like that are worth focusing on. You know, y'all talked about a lot of the China stocks, Asher and things. But I mean, if you look at KWEB, the ETF itself, I mean, it's just ready to move out of a major base on a weekly basis. And so you got to look back for a while, but this basis goes back to 22, and it basically looks like a lot of our high-tech stocks looked a year and a half ago. And
Tommy, let me ask you this. You're talking about Chinese internet, Chinese tech. Isn't it interesting how Chinese internet and Chinese tech is trading a lot closer with the price of copper than it is with US internet and US tech, right? Like, can you talk about that? Like, it's hilarious, right?
I mean, I don't know that I could talk about it intelligent enough that watching it is I can't sit here and say I know exactly why I understand the links, but a lot of it is because they make so much more of it. They are going to use a lot more of that. And that goes back down to if they are boosting their technology economy and trying to build stuff themselves, they've always been much bigger on stockpiling, on trying to, when it comes to the commodity side of things, if they decide to push into an area. So it's funny, but it makes some sense, is that China's really always been, at least in my career, always been one to where when they want to go into an area, they start stockpiling those commodities and they run them up just because of their sheer volume and size of what they are doing. I think that with our tech stocks tend to be so much more IP, intellectual property, software, things like that aren't as much hardware driven in a lot of cases. And I think that may be where that separation comes in. But I think it's great to focus on the shift we're seeing right now and seeing some of the European stuff and all that reflate. But I do think we need to be careful here over the next 2 to 6 weeks and seeing how much that actually sticks. It's kind of the same thing when we have a rotation into, like we do now, into real estate and staples and healthcare and all that. The question is, are they rotating into that to kind of get away from ours for a minute and just try to find another quick opportunity while we work it out and settle our, move, take our correction or our sideways move? Or are they making a permanent rotation to where, this is a longer trend change and our time is over? And I'm not sure where we are right now, but I don't know that I would bet. I may move some percentages into those areas, but I don't know that I would be personally, for longer term portfolios. I'm still not comfortable enough doing anything in Asia and Europe for more than trading time periods.
I've been hearing that a lot, actually, Tommy. Can you throw up, Spencer, can you throw up slide 4? This is the chart that Tommy was talking about. Tommy, what you just said, bro, I'm hearing so much. It's China's good for a trade. China's good for a trade, but not an investment. Maybe it works for now, but not good. Like, when I tell you, I'm hearing that every single time, which leads me to believe, before I started hearing all this, that maybe China is actually good for an investment. And maybe this is just the beginning of something massive. And you, without me saying a word, brought up this massive multi-year base in Chinese internet. Doesn't this chart speak to more of a longer term trend than a shorter term? You mentioned?
No, your point's exactly right. And that's why I said this is where we have to see where we are. I mean, this thing has gone sideways for this long. There is nothing that says we won't have another shoulder on this. We're right at the top of this, just like in our markets, we're right at pretty heavy potential support levels. That's one of the great things y'all were talking about Brian Shannon earlier. He drills in people's head. It's a potential support level. It isn't yet.
It's a level of interest, as he said.
Yeah, this is a potential breakout level. It hasn't broken out yet. So that's why I pointed that specific one out. While all the bigger ones and all that are already up near some highs, and you're talking about Germany and some of those, this one to me is one that looks more like a longer term potential from the standpoint of how long this base has been stretching out versus looking like at if I pull up a chart on mine, y'all have to on yours, but if I look at this versus EWG's been coming back for a year and a half, 2 years with our markets.
Night and day, right? Night and day.
And so that's why I think there's a chance. But again, we have got to understand that I love hearing all the stories. I love everything else, but right now there's a huge doubt on whether this uncertainty in our economy, our fiscal policy, all of that is going to be helpful or hurtful. And I think that's where most of this volatility is coming from. And markets will eventually fight through that. So we'll see. If it's right, then yes, we will turn over and a lot of this Europe stuff and all that. But I still think from a stance of if you want some longer term, China's going to have to be it. Europe's not. And that's just kind of my view of it, is that Europe is more of on a stable state kind of at this point, but not really going to be your growth engine. That's why I pointed out that one over Asher or FXI, is if you're going to do it, wait till something like this, if you're a longer term guy, resolves itself, and then you can get in for a year, 2 year, and let this thing really work itself out.
Do you think that sort of the sentiment, the pushback I get, oh, JC, but the macro environment and the Trump and, the erratic decisions being made from DC, how can you ever put in an investment in China? How can you trust that? Too much risk. Like that sort of like thought process, I think is, consensus out there, just how scared people are, not to mention the recency bias that goes past a decade and a half or so of Chinese underperformance, right? Like all these human biases preventing them from like philosophically putting on large positions in China for investors. Like, do you look at that as a tailwind as much as I do?
Yes. I think you've done a great job with that for a long time, is that, and because you do talk to a lot of people, is that you're kind of get something, and if everybody starts saying the same thing, it gets more worrisome. And I think there's definitely that perspective there that is, it's been exacerbated over the last decade with, internet TV. Not internet, sorry, like CNBCs and all the Bloombergs and all the shows. And then now everybody in the different variations of YouTube videos and things of that sort. So it depends on what that focus is. And I think they all do focus on somewhat of a consensus that, for lack of a better way to put it, it's going to get the advertising, going to get the play, going to get that on those realms or levels. Pretty much a friend of mine years ago is all CNBC is MTV and Suits. And that's really kind of what we see. It's an entertainment value over much of anything else in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that some people find that stuff entertaining, but to each his own. I watch things that people would find boring, so it's all good.
Well, we feel like we have to chase that down. And so we feel like we're always striving in this society and this whatever to chase down a way to better ourselves, but there's nothing wrong with that. And then they feel like they have to make it entertaining to keep us focused, because our attention spans are about 15 seconds these days.
Let me ask you this, Tommy. So obviously, maybe not obviously, but in my opinion, the weaker dollar has certainly helped Chinese equities and some of these others, but the dollar's getting destroyed. Spencer, can you throw up that dollar chart, please? The dollar's been getting absolutely destroyed. So how do you think about this as a catalyst for, and how this impacts other trades out there? Talk to me about what this dollar means to you.
Yeah, I was listening to that earlier. And again, going back to all the old Murphy stuff and the intermarket analysis stuff and all that, the dollar right now is not doing the things we typically see it do. We're not seeing it help equities. It's normally a net positive for equities. It normally has some different bond effects, things like that. So right now, again, I think there is a lot of question and effect. And then I think there is a lot of, whether it is geopolitical or whether it is the whole reserve currency or whether it is the whole crypto argument, all these little factors I think have some, but I think we're better off with it coming back than going up. Now, yeah, could it be a level of profit taking to where, we were the only game in town for a long time? And so a lot of money came here in the US. And what I would say is next time it hits the fan again, I think that'll happen again. Where our markets are still considered the safe haven in case something were to go wrong. So actually an increased investment in China would actually be more of a benefit or thought that things are getting more stable, not less. And so the idea that some money's being pulled out of our markets to be invested in those, I could see that. I mean, I could certainly see that. But at the same time, I would be careful and watch right now, because so many of these things, like those European markets, are just passing breakout levels, which we all know a few days above breakout levels aren't exactly where you want to bet the whole bank. If you weren't in it a little bit before, you want to make sure it proves itself. Same thing with our markets on the downside. And I'm not sure I would bet against our major trend. It just may be taking a relative backseat for a while.
All right, let's come back to major trends. I just want to kind of put things in perspective here. Let me where is this chart? Let's see. So we're talking about the S&P 500, we're talking about the Nasdaq 100. Can you throw up please, Spencer, the new slide 3 there? Let's see. There it is. The new slide 3. Throw that up there. I want to hear Tommy, you are you're sounding, like a perma bull, Pollyanna, like everything is, great. You're sounding too much like me. And people out there in internet land, they don't like such optimism from folks like us. But let's flip the script. What do you think the market would have to do to invalidate this overall bullish thesis and uptrend that you and I both believe that the stock market is still in? Like, what are the types of things that you're looking at to be like, well, I thought it was like this, but if this is happening, then it's probably not like that,
Yeah, I mean, I'd want to see some of those intermarket relationship change. I'd want to see some of the things like the your defensive sectors stay on top for a while, get challenged and be able to stay up there. And as you have on this chart right now, I'd want to see these levels break. Excuse me, the first level you have there break, because of the fact that, this is again where our major trend is sitting. That still really wouldn't put us in as much of a major downtrend when you look at things. It would put us in a more of a minor downtrend with that first top level being broken, which is kind of what we're testing now. But again, this is when sentiment usually gets the worst. The fact that it has accelerated, we have a lot of those things that are there that in the past, when we get to these kind of extremes, it pretty much has been opportunity more than negative. Now, if you want to look from an RSI standpoint, pretty much all of these majors are still in weekly RSI bull trends. They're all above the 40 level. They've been above for a while. Have we been diverging? Absolutely. But we're coming right back into these levels that would make sense if we ran hard. And so, there's nothing that says we can't come back, like I said, to around 560 on the SPY or even 550. And still be in a larger trend. But I'll tell you, that's the part about people calling it permabull. It depends on what level you're looking at. Doesn't mean I want to be super aggressive until I see a little more positive action. But again, we start negative. I would rather any day start negative and then work its way up than start with a big gap up and then us lose it during the day. So we've got to go through this beating back and forth transition in order to figure out where the price discovery is and where we are going to land. That's what we've been trying to do some of this week. We might pass, we might fail, but that's where these other levels come in. But it's got to be a day by day and looking at the whole market. You can't just look at one index and you can't look at one level. It's got to be kind of how they're acting as they get there.
You mentioned the defensive groups, right? And looking for some strength there on a relative basis that would stick. Like, when you say that, this is the chart that comes to my mind. Consumer staples relative to the S&P 500, dipping below those dot-com bubble lows and quickly reversing higher. I'm open. I'm a very open-minded market participant. I don't care if the stock market doubles or crashes. I don't care if gold goes to 5,000 or 5. Bitcoin can go to 0 or 1 million. Like, I'm good. I'm too old to care. But when you ask me what's the most bearish chart in the market right now, I would point to this one.
Yeah, and I can't disagree, but here's what I would also say. When you look at the timeline of that chart, don't expect it to be quick.
Don't expect what to be quick?
this reversal.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, when you look back, what's the first date on that chart?
99.
So when you look back and you're going back to 99 and you're looking at this chart, you're absolutely right. It's made that dip. It's done all that. But we could basically run back and forth and dance around this line for another year and a half.
Yes.
Before you get a major resolution to that. So when you say this is bearish, I don't disagree at all. I'm just not sure I can trade off it right now.
Yeah, no question. And again, maybe not bearish, but the most bearish chart I can think of, right?
I agree. It's certainly
more
something,
like, because if we're getting rotation into staples, that's staples leadership, not exactly a characteristic of strong bull markets, right, Tommy?
correct. Absolutely not. But on the other end of it, again, I think that we went to such an extreme as far as the tech leadership, the weightings, all of that. Again, when you look at these and these are all weighted as well and everything else, I wonder, and I don't know, but I wonder if that chart would look any different if you did the equal weight versus the equal weight SPY or the equal weight staples versus, and I know we're in a cap weighted world. I get it. But right now, I get a little worried about some of my comparisons like that. While I watch them, I get a little worried that our weightings are so whacked out on some of these comparisons. We do have to make sure we just look at different ones. And I know y'all do. So I'm not.
No, you're right. You're spot on. I agree.
You got to look at different ones because of that fact that we've got to get to a point where we've got to realize what are we investing in and how are we going to use it. If you're an ETF investor, that's one thing. If you're a stock investor, that's another thing. If you're a macro investor, that's a whole nother ball game. To where I believe there's a space for staples to make up some ground without everybody else having to get hurt just from some basic Mag 7, things like that, profit taking, and smart investors saying the U.S. is not on a bad track. We have been very concentrated. No, they're not going to grow as fast as a software company, but this is a decent way to diversify and still stay in one of the top economies and some things like that.
Also, Tommy, when you talk about like the weightings and everything like that, Walmart and Costco combined represent 20% of the consumer staples index. They're actually the two largest components. Walmart and Costco. Do those sound like consumer staples to you, Tommy? In all reality?
Yep. Well, now, and something I got to let to y'all. He talked about my relative strength and all that. For the first time in about 18 years, I have gotten out of the data game.
Out of the data game. What does that mean?
I shut down my website. I shut down Power Investing. I've changed kind of my focus for the year a little bit. I'll still be doing a lot of research, but I'm going to be using other sources. Might have to take a closer look at y'all's now that I'm not doing my own. So, hit me up sometime. But
happy to chat. Yeah,
I'm not creating all the data myself anymore because I found myself spending a lot more time creating it than I was analyzing it, which is where my real skills are.
Oh, you got to get some ninjas. I got ninjas. You need ninjas?
So this year I'm heading back to my side of things where I'm really going to do analyzing and more money managing, more of that, and then really focusing on my family, my boys. My boys shoot competition shotguns, so we're going to be doing a lot of traveling and a lot of things like that. And that does not that's not inducive to running a website and doing a data subscription company and all that. So I just decided, you know what? I'm good where I am. I can grow where I am, and I've got a great family I want to spend more time with. So I'm going to start relying on more outside sources for my data. But I'll still be a big relative strength person and all that. But where we are right now with things is I think that people are getting a little extreme in their mindsets. I definitely am not saying we're at a bottom, but I believe that we will have to have some back and forth before this thing just gives up, like Strazza's looking for. Because I definitely believe there is still a lot of tailwinds that are there as well for even the U.S. economy. But I think just the fact that the money's rotating to Europe and places like that instead of just leaving markets in general. If things are really bad, they go to fix stuff. They leave markets. So the fact that they're going there versus here right now, I see that as more of a wave than I see as a detrimental situation.
Tommy, where in Georgia are you?
I'm in middle Georgia down at what's called Lake Oconee. It's basically about halfway between Athens, Augusta, and Atlanta. It's in a little triangle in there. It's just a little resort town. You need to come down. I've heard you talk about being a Ritz-Carlton guy. They've got one down here on the lake.
I'm a Ritz-Carlton guy, am I?
I think I heard that sometime. You like fancy stuff?
something like that. What? How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how Georgia are you, Tommy?
Oh, I'm born and bred. I've been here
so
my
you're
whole
hardcore.
life. Yeah,
So
I was born in Atlanta, within the perimeter, and lived there until I was 20, probably 32, and then for 40ish. And me and my wife moved out here because basically, I said I'd never move out of Atlanta because I loved it, and then I got to the point to where I just don't like being. I like elbow room.
Yeah.
So I moved out to the lake, got a few acres. I'm able to just really kind of and been on just a phenomenal place to raise my boy. We never would have gotten into competition shotgun.
Of course, not in
Like
Atlanta.
in the middle of the city. Yeah,
No.
exactly.
They're shooting
So,
other things in Atlanta.
exactly. Ours is perfectly harmless. And actually, honestly, it's the total opposite of firearms than everything you get everywhere else. These kids are phenomenal. You know, we'll go to a thing this summer where there will be 3,700 youth shooters.
Wow.
That'll shoot for 10 days and compete. And a lot of these kids are hitting 98 to 100%.
Wow.
Of what I mean, just it's an amazing level of skill and accuracy and all that, and just a lot of fun. So we've gotten really into that. We'll be traveling. We have a big camper. We go in and do all this stuff. So I'd rather do that for the next few years and let you guys tackle the data stuff. So I've got to look closer because I've always done my own my whole life. Always done my own relative strength, all of it. So now I'm for the first time, January 1st is when, or January 31st is when I did the last run of the website and decided, you know what, just be better for me to let some of you guys do that and me get back to looking at the stuff. So I gotta look closer.
2 questions, Tommy, and I'll let you go. Do you need to have a green egg to officially be a real Georgian? Like you?
No, because I don't. I've fought it my whole life. I'm a stick guy. I don't want a pellet grill. I won't use a pellet grill. I want actual wood that I've either bought in pieces or I've had to chop up. I don't even want chunks. I want a stick.
Got it.
Put
Okay.
in there to a real smoker. So
and then what about the peach cobblers? You have to eat peach cobblers to be true Georgian. Like, is that how that works?
I am not a good Georgian. I can't say I hate it, but I would much rather have the apple pie or the pecan pie.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
They're going to kick you out of that state.
They might. They might.
But see, again,
I don't have the accent either, so I get made fun of here, even though I've been here my entire life. So I may have a little bit, but I don't have a hard.
Yeah, I'd say you have a little bit. Yeah.
Well, that's living out in the country. It's starting to drag it out of me a little bit more.
Yeah, you don't sound like you're from Brooklyn.
No, that's definitely not part of it. But you know, it's a great place down here once you get out of the hustle and bustle of Atlanta.
Last one, Bulldogs or Yellow Jackets?
Oh man, I'm a dog, no doubt. That's where I graduated from, no doubt.
Right.
But I'm
asking.
I'm a Tech fan of anybody except for when they're playing the Dogs. So I'm not a hater either way. I love good game. I love good football. I mean, I might hate Florida a little bit.
Who doesn't?
But outside of that, I'm not much of a hater.
They're the worst humans in the world, those people.
I can't argue.
Yeah.
I can't actually. I got a great kid now that's he's an ex-shooter, phenomenal shooter that's down at Florida State, and he's going to be a neonatal neurosurgeon.
Oh, wow.
Talking about driven. Good.
That sounds way smarter than me. Yeah, for sure.
Me too. Way above my
right. The only thing good about Florida State is that we could both agree we hate Florida. So, you know, that's right. So, Tommy Lackey, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it. This was fun. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Adios. All right. Tommy Lackey.
Just like the nicest dude. So many people we talk to. I mean, frankly, we only like nice people, right? We don't like assholes.
He's got like that, like Georgia draw, like that nice, like, you know, people like I think I was explaining to someone over the last couple of days, like people from New York, like it's not like they're like mean. They just sound like rougher around the edges, but they're not. It doesn't make them mean.
No, there's like welcoming accents and non-welcoming accents, and his is more welcoming. New York's is not, but I was surprised to hear. First off, I was gonna pop in and ask him. I didn't. The comment about how he'd rather see like open at the low and rally all day than open at the high and give it all back kind of stuck with me because even if like they netted out the same gain, I agree, but I would have liked to hear him elaborate more on that. Maybe I should have asked him. That's okay.
No, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with that. What part of it What do
No,
you?
no, I agree with it too, but it's just interesting from a psychological standpoint because, like, if the end of the day result is the same 1% gain, then you could say, well, what does it really matter, right?
It matters a lot.
Yeah,
Of course.
right.
Yeah. How did it get there? Of course, that's where the candlesticks come in, right? The line charts just show you the close. The candlestick shows you whether it melted or melted up, right?
Yeah. All right. And Tommy's done. He does great work with relative strength. I was kind of surprised to say he's taking a break.
Well, he's still doing it. He's just not crunching all the data.
Right.
Like what he needs a ninja. We got ninjas. I'm not doing that. You know, we have ninjas. He needs ninjas. All right. So
speaking of ninjas, we have an options ninja. Did you know that?
We do have an options ninja. What do you say we bring him on and do a little how you doing?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was editing his name real fast. Sorry.
Johnny baby.
Listen. There's one thing I know. Huh? The only true worst people in the world are the people who call the other people the worst people in the world. So knock that shit off about Florida. Right? Knock it off.
Where did you go to school, Sean?
I didn't say anything.
University of Buffalo, SUNY. Go ahead. Say something bad about those people too, you jack off.
Hey, my dad went to a SUNY school.
I actually love Buffalo. Not so much Bills fans, but Buffalo. I'm constantly ordering buffalo wings from Buffalo, keeping that economy going. Someone's got to do it, right? Listen, it's not my fault that Florida Gators people are the worst humans on earth. It's not my fault.
Real fast. If you guys want to know what Steve is doing, he's sending out trade alerts right now. I just got one from him about Bitcoin. So
getting involved.
Yeah.
Shawnee baby. On a real note, yesterday you were coming in hot, saying we got to be selling put spreads, and I was right there with you, and I'm literally hooting and hollering, going, if you're not selling put spreads this week, when are you ever going to sell put spreads?
I agree. And now the market's given us a little reality test today. We'll see how it works. Maybe we were early. I don't know. But from a risk reward standpoint, earlier this week, selling put spreads was the right move. Just because statistically it's the right move doesn't mean it's going to work every time. And these might not work. Maybe we're a week early. Who knows? But we're all right. We haven't gotten stopped out of anything yet. I've been talking with the guys this week about how in this type of tape with VIX printing a 24 handle, you want to be looking at big cap stocks with elevated volatility that have put in some nearby lows and leaning against those to put on some put spreads. Those are high probability bets that can pay us a little money in a otherwise pretty damn choppy tape.
With volatility elevated like this, the put spreads like in Microsoft, for example, like those types of names, this is the type of strategy that we tend to do historically, like in a Berkshire Hathaway, where we're just getting this big behemoth of a stock and selling those puts, in this case, a put spread, so we're hedged, but naked or put spreads, whatever it is, looking for those types of opportunities, particularly in the behemoths, whether not so much Berkshire this time around, but Microsoft, but same idea. In addition to put spreads, are you also thinking condors? Like, are you also thinking other types of strategies? I mean, a put spread at the end of the day is like half a condor, right?
Yeah. No, I was, before seeing the futures going lower this morning, I was of the mindset at yesterday's close that if we had another up day today, then I was going to really start looking for some iron condors and playing for a little back and forth.
Yes.
May have missed it. I mean, it turns out maybe yesterday afternoon would have been the perfect time to put some on. We'll see. But I'm not looking for iron condors just yet. I'm looking more, as I said, I'm looking more.
No, but I like where your head is at. Hold on. Exactly what you just said, I think is so right. Like hypothetically, if we would have gotten some follow through today, I mean, we still will, maybe, I don't know, or to the end of the week. Now you've got some room to the downside. You've got some room to the upside, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, why you're thinking about a condor where you're basically selling the upside and the downside versus the put spread where you're just selling the downside. Do I have that right?
You do. And if we had some follow through today, and we still might get it, right? I mean, as you like to say, let it dance. The market's only been open for
Let them
15
dance,
minutes.
baby. Let them
Right.
dance.
If we get some follow through to the upside today, assuming VIX doesn't get crushed, I mean, sure, it'll come down, but if we're still, hovering around the 20 in the VIX, I feel like this will be a great place to sell Aaron Condors, because with the volatility being what it is, that gives us the ability to sell spreads further away from the market, which just improves our odds of success. I mean, we could be greedy and sell them tight and collect the bigger premiums if we want. I would rather just go wider, give myself, basically more margin for error, right? So that the stock can have a little bit more wiggle room without stopping me out. That's the advantage you have when volatility is high, is you could sell strikes further away from the market. And we're quiet.
No, I mean, no, like I'm thinking through this because, I think that what you're saying, and I'm right there with you. We're kind of like blanketing a lot of different things as to one thing, when the truth of the matter is, in this particular market, there's so many different things going on. There's some things that are parabolic to the upside. There's some things that are getting destroyed to the downside. There's some things that are chopping up in this mess. Like, granted, volatility is slightly elevated, and that kind of goes across the board. But generally speaking, like, there's something for everybody in this market, Like if you're looking to short things, there's been things to short. You're looking to buy things, there've been things to buy. If you're looking to just take neutral positions, you got that too. Like, I can't think of a time, now that I'm thinking through it, you're making fun of me that I'm quiet. Because you got to think, Shawnee. I can't remember a time where there was this many different things going on in stocks, in different industry groups and sectors and countries and continents, where it's like almost like, what's happening over here, it's almost like a different time period altogether than what's happening over there, but it's happening at the same time.
Yeah, well, it speaks to the market we're in, right? I mean, it's kind of like the market's trying to figure out its direction. And I don't just, when I say the market, I don't mean just stocks. I mean, we're seeing it in crypto, we're seeing it in commodities. And yeah, maybe a lot of that is politics, who knows? But we are definitely in a transition. And JC, you and I said this long before the politics got weird. At the end of last year, we were coming into the year saying, we think the bull market's likely to continue, but it's not going to look anything like 2024. It's going to be choppy. We're going to see some 10% corrections.
That was an easy statement to make, though.
I know. We should not be patting ourselves on the back for that one. But hey,
this is going to be different than the last 2 years. Yeah, big shocker, JC. Right.
Yeah,
but it's true though. I mean, but even though it's common sense, I think that I think it's important to reiterate that. Like, it's almost like as a reminder, not so much like this earth-shattering revelation, but more like as a reminder. There's a very low, close to zero likelihood that this year is going to be anything like the last two.
Well, you know what? When we have tapes like this, I got to say, and seeing Kenny on earlier just kind of reminded me of it. Guys like Kenny who have very short-term time frames. I mean, this is the market. This is the type of market that they thrive in. And I'm kind of jealous of Kenny, him and his liquid and loving it mentality. I mean, this is the type of tape that he's going to thrive in, and he is thriving in it. And people like me who are a little bit more of a swing trader, it's tough. We have tools as options traders to kind of navigate it a little bit with credit spreads and things like that. But this is not the type of environment where someone like me is going to hit home runs. It could happen, and I'll put myself in position to get lucky every once in a while, but I'm not expecting home run trades in this type of market. Whereas, someone with a short-term time frame like a Kenny, man, this is the tape that they dream of. I mean, the daily volatility. I mean, I remember when I was when I was an active day trader from 1998 to 03. Boy, did we love these types of markets. Loved it. This is what we dreamed of.
I want to throw up the Muff G.
Uh-oh.
Throw up that Muff G.
This is a family-friendly show, JC. Let's keep it clean.
This is the Muff G right here. This is Mitsubishi Financial. Just a great example. You got European financials absolutely crushing it. U.S. financials just don't look, particularly the banks have gotten hit pretty hard. This is Japanese financial. So like you're seeing, blanketing quote unquote financials across the board. I mean, I'm just using financials as one example of, over here, the financials are doing this, and over here, the financials are doing that, right? It's, bifurcation, I believe is what they call it. The dispersion, perhaps, right, between returns. These are SAT words.
I love it when you say big sexy words. The two things I love most that you do, JC, are the big sexy words, and when you say things in with that little Cuban Spanish enunciation. I love that.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah, like Muff G, like when I say that with my Cuban accent, that makes it gets you
No,
excited.
like when you pronounce companies like Mercado Libre. Let's hear you say it.
Are you referring to the Mercado Libre?
There you go. See that's what I love. Come on,
Boy.
more of that.
Yeah, you want more of that. All right. Well, more ADRs. You got to give the people what they want. More ADRs.
You know what we need? I see Strazza in the private chat there. What we need is the three of us to do a little trip into Latin America so we could see you just in your element, just communicating with the locals. This is what I would enjoy.
Morgan loves it. Morgan loves it. Like we're in a situation where there's some Spanish. I come in there and I just start rapping, and it's just like game over, game set match. And then she always reminds me, because I always complain that my Spanish never comes in handy. And then she's like, "Yeah, but like in the taco trucks, you used to get free extra onions." And I'm like, if that's how far you need to go to tell me that I use my Spanish for good reason, that I get free onions at the taco truck where we lived 6 years ago.
I think we need to have a portfolio accelerator event in Argentina so we can really drive this home. What do you think, Spencer? Can you make that happen?
I gotta tell you, I actually might be able to make that happen.
We are going to an international city. We're going to New Orleans. That's
We're going to Toronto in September. That counts.
Oh yeah,
technically.
Also,
you know where we should go, guys?
No.
Where?
Vietnam.
Yeah.
That's where we should go.
Is everybody allowed in Canada?
Yeah.
Isn't it like a thing where, like, if you have a DUI in America, you can't go to Canada or something?
Yes, that is the thing.
I could have gotten several DUIs.
DUI,
I could have gotten several DUIs during my border crossing to and from Canada.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
But everybody's allowed in Canada? Because that'd be a bummer if somebody wasn't allowed in Canada.
You don't need a passport, right?
Like my brother-in-law can't go to Canada.
You do need a passport unless you have and you need an enhanced license. Or a passport.
Yeah. Boy, times have changed. I went to Canada with my student ID because I left my driver's license. As
you guys know,
after 9/11. After 9/11.
I grew up in Buffalo, so going into Canada was just that was a regular thing. And I beat pre 9/11. You used to be able to cross the border with a library card. It was no big deal. These days, not so much.
Jonathan, they always get you on the way back in, right? Like they'll let anybody in, but getting out is the problem. They always look at me. They're like, this guy's up to something. They always stick me in a room. It's true.
I got held up at the border once because I was driving my mother-in-law's car. And, I don't know what's in the car, and I got pulled over for a random search, and then they found in the back seat like one of those little like keychain mace things, those little like tiny little things, and apparently it's illegal to bring mace into Canada. I had no idea. And so I was like, oh, I'm sorry. It's my mother-in-law's car. Just throw it in the garbage. And they were like, no, you have to turn around and cross back the border and you need to get rid of this in the US. I'm like, I can't just put it in the garbage can. And it was a whole thing. It was crazy.
I was going in for like a gold bug conference, and like, I didn't know much about it or what hotel it was in. I just knew that it was there and the date. And they're like questioning, like, what are you doing here? Like, I don't know. I'm speaking at a gold conference. Like, what hotel? I was like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here to give
the Tim Hortons in.
A few years ago, we did a cannabis conference in Canada because they were ahead of the.
Believe it. Did you really?
Well, they were ahead of the U.S. right, and we were advised, don't say you're coming for a cannabis conference. Just say you're coming for a conference. You can leave the word cannabis out.
That wasn't a signal.
Yeah,
that wasn't a signal.
Anyway, all right. Wait, I want to do a recess so we can ask Sean about Jamaica.
Do it.
Oh, okay. All right, let's talk Jamaica. My wife and I both are of the mind that when we go on vacations, we like to have adventures. Like we like to go on hikes or go sightseeing or do all these kinds of things. We like to be active. This particular vacation, we were meeting my sister and her kids, so hanging out with my nephew and niece, and it was really all about just getting the kids together and having them all in one place. So we did this all-inclusive resort, and the plan was we were just going to stay there for an entire week. And so both of us, me and my wife, were kind of like, sitting around the pool for a week's probably going to get boring. But I will say it was delightful. The fact that we left Colorado and it was like 10 degrees out and it had been 10 degrees for about 3 weeks straight, that certainly helped our mood getting into Jamaica. But hey, we had a nice perk. I'll tell you one thing that we had that we did not expect. It was not part of the sale when we booked the whole thing. But when we got there, Strazza will love this because this was because of the one of the statuses I have with Hilton. We were allocated our own personal butler for the whole week that we were there. I had no idea. Yeah. How great was that? So we had a butler that was bringing us drinks at the pool, little coconut drinks in coconuts.
Were you drinking alcohol? Were you boozing?
No. This is just a plain old coconut cut up right in front of you. Yeah, right. All natural.
Fresh
so
stuff.
You had no cocktails while in Jamaica, man?
I had a few glasses of red wine at dinner, doing it like that.
I thought you only did that with me.
Coconut
generally
water.
That's true. Generally that is true. I only do that with JC. But my policy these days, if I'm having a fancy dinner, if I'm on vacation, I'll have a small glass of red wine to go with my dinner. I
think it's a good rule because there's certain foods. JC mentioned it the other day. Like, what are you drinking with oysters? Like, there's certain foods that if you don't have the right drink with it, they're half as good. There's some complimentary. Stuff.
So Jamaica, we never left the resort, but it was fantastic. The weather was perfect. We had perfect weather the whole time. A lot of great food. The ocean was amazing, super warm. Just everything was great.
Do you have any like lobster curry? They do a real nice job there with the lobster curry.
I did not have any lobster curry, but I had a lot of jerk chicken, of course. That was kind of like my lunch every day. There was a little chicken shack on the resort. It was great.
There was a little cold front while you were there, though. No, would you have like mid 70s?
No, mid 80s every day. The low got into the 70s at night.
Strazza, what they'll do is they'll take the lobster tail and they'll chop it up and they put the spices and the things and then like put it back in the shell and then right. You know what I'm saying?
That's cool.
These Jamaicans.
I see a couple people in the chat. One guy's Dawson's asked me what resort. We stayed at the Hilton Rose Hall, which is in near Montego Bay. So like a little 15-minute drive from the airport, which is nice. I also see somebody there. Bridal Mac wants me to tell you about the Sundowner. Hey, I've got stories about the Sundowner, but that's not for this show. Reach out to me privately. I'm happy.
Not for this show. Were you not smoking the local ganj in Jamaica?
The resort we were at was a very family-friendly resort. Lots of kids around. I smelled very little of the local ganja. I smelled a little bit of it, but
you
not
got a
a
whiff
lot.
or two. All right, was it skunky?
I actually smelled more cigars than anything else. There was a bunch of people smoking cigars around us, and it was actually kind of delightful. I was like, it smells pretty good.
You were surrounded by ganja. You just didn't know it.
Oh, I'm sure of it. But we were just in a family-friendly resort. Lots of kids around. JC knows all about this, or will soon, about family-friendly resorts.
Oh, I'm familiar, Shawnee. I am all too familiar. It's real life these days. It's real life. We're going to Miami in like a month. Actually, exactly a month from now. I'm gonna disappear for a week. By the way, Spencer. So you're on your own.
Great.
And family-friendly resort, down in Miami, staying in the Key Biscayne, which is not the Keys, Miami, but
very nice. Well, hey, just to finish up with Bridal Mac there, asking about the Sundowner in Niagara Falls. If we do a portfolio accelerator in Toronto this fall, Bridal Mac, you should come with us. Maybe we'll do a little side trip and we'll do a little.
We're in Toronto. You want to go to the Niagara Falls? How far is Toronto from Niagara Falls? It's a little far. It's not that close.
It's depending on traffic. It's about an hour 15 away.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have time for all that.
Well,
maybe the foreigners like Fonz and Louis, they might go there, but I'm good with it.
Well, JC, I can't speak for the rest of us, but I think you and we should definitely make this event happen where there's a Bills home game that weekend. So
forget the Bills. I want to go to an Argonaut.
No, you don't. Trust me, you don't want to go there.
Do.
No, you don't.
They don't like me. Those Buffalo Bills, and they have like O.J. Simpson like enshrined like as the greatest person ever. Like that. These are the types of people that are Buffalo Bills fans.
He was really good.
O.J.
He was really
Simpson
good.
needs to be worshipped.
He was a great football player. Why wouldn't he have been?
Right.
He wasn't
Exactly.
a murderer.
No reason at all.
Hey JC, if the glove don't fit, you can't acquit. Come on,
Okay.
man, don't you know?
Real fast before we hop, programming note: 4 o'clock Eastern time today. JC is going live with one and only Jeff Mackey, talking the world of retail, talking implications of the trade war on retail, talking Jeff's favorite retail stocks right now. How
Asian
Jeff does
online retail.
How Jeff does his research. A lot going on here. I just dropped the link in the chat. There it is. Sign up. Get the link. It's free. We'll be there 4 o'clock. If you're lucky, I'll put the recording up on YouTube after. But you want to be there live.
Get yourself a stiff coffee right beforehand. That's going to be some fast talking, those two guys.
Jeff Mackey.
You know, the way that Jeff looks at these consumer names, and it's not like this random like sector or industry groups. Like these are consumer stocks. And by the way, he considers names like Google and names like Uber and others that are not quote unquote consumer stocks are in this. So the way he thinks about the consumer to me is fascinating. You know, Strazza, I'm actually surprised that you haven't picked his brain more because it's so fascinating the way he approaches this. I know you and I were talking about this yesterday. This is right up your alley, dude.
I pay attention to what he says.
Yeah,
that's great.
Any company that any person spends money at falls within Jeff's universe, right? So that's Uber.
Brands.
Brands, exactly.
He's not a retail analyst. He's a consumer analyst.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
a good way to put it, Strazza. You're right.
Anyway, 4 o'clock Eastern time, right here in that link. Check it out. JC will be there. Jeff Mackey was slacking me at 7 o'clock in the morning, my time. That's 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when he wakes up. The guy's a machine.
Beast mode. Beast mode. He's got like 10 million meters on his Peloton. Like he's like, you know. He has all the blue ribbons and gold stars, whatever they give the Peloton people.
I don't know.
He's big. He's on that bike a lot, dude.
Options Jam session with Sean at noon. Chart request live at 1. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. All right. I'll make some
Shout out garbage plates for Rochester. I see you in the chat.
Later.
Adios.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground.